And welcome in everybody to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate you all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it's one of your favorite places to watch podcasts. And if you're watching the video version, you will notice A, we are both here right away, and B, that there's a whole different layout as we are starting this as Mock Draft Monday. It's anyone who's been keeping track of that on our YouTube page. They're very familiar with this. No, basically no sugarcoating. We're jumping straight first into it. Is DJ joined as always by my co-host Kelcey. And Kelcey, we are 24 hours and some change away from the start of the NFL draft, which we will be hosting on Belly of Sports. You definitely want to go check that out, as you've heard ad nauseum from us recently, hopefully. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do our annual final mock draft right before it. Trades will be involved. We'll have the first round. It's a little bit of what we're feeling, a little bit of what we would do, and a little bit of, you know what, why not? Because if it works out, it works out.
Exactly. No, I'm excited to be here. I haven't been back on a mock draft Monday since week 1, week 2, maybe. So no, it's been a minute since we got to play around with these drafts, and we get to do it on a Wednesday for this one, so that's a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I'm pumped. It's tomorrow is the big day, if you will. If you guys haven't already seen the videos, we posted them on social media. Belly Out's posted them. We're gonna have a lot of great guests, a lot of fun, covering and reacting to all these brand new picks, and there's gonna be some special guest appearances from a few of our favorites that may not be a part of the Belly Up Network anymore, but we still love them anyways.
Absolutely. It's going to be an absolute fun. It's going to be a blast, a hoot, and a holler, and everything in between. But we got ourselves a draft to get into. As anyone who's been here before knows, we will alternate picks. Last time, Kelcey took the odds. I took the evens. This time, as you can imagine, if you have good inference skills, I will be taking the odds, and Kelcey will be taking the evens. So I will have the first pick in the draft. And for the Chicago Bears, I will select Marvin Harris, Caleb Williams. But it's not even a surprise. It's been the same way it's been this way since the week 17 wrapped up that next Monday. It's been all but known at this point, regardless of what anyone says. So Caleb Williams, you are heading to Chicago to potentially give them a little more stability at the quarterback position. We will see. But that leaves you with arguably the first pick in the draft here, pick number 2, considering, well, Caleb Williams and the Bears are just off. So there's 31 unknown picks to go. Ken Kelcey, you get the first of them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of rumors here with this, what's about to happen with number 2 pick, especially recently. Obviously the news of Jaden Daniels pissing off or getting angry by the Washington contingent, if you will. But I don't think that stops the Commanders. I think they go Jaden Daniels right here, number 2 overall. So I'm going to go Jaden Daniels.
All right. I think obviously we talk about number 1 is set in stone. Number 2 is all but set in stone. It feels. I think there's a little bit of leeway there, but I feel like Jaden Daniels number 2 feels like the smart pick.
It's a quarterback. One way or the other, it's a quarterback.
Exactly. I think if you're Washington too, you got a new regime, everything like that, a defensive-minded guy. You want it. Jaden Daniels is ready to go, and I think for that number 2 spot, it feels pretty comfortable with him right now, considering there's a little bit less to worry about. You just want him to learn how to fall down a few times and not dive first into linebacker sprinting at him, among a few other things. But if he can just not get hit, they might have something there. It's just they don't get shades of RG3 flashbacks. But that's going to take us now to pick number 3, and this is where there could be a lot of fun because New England obviously needs a quarterback. They also need everything on the offensive side of the ball whatsoever. They pretty much need the entire contingency. And what we're going to do? We're going to have a little bit of fun with this one. We're going to flip this on its head. We're going to have our first trade of the draft. As we mentioned earlier, there will be trades. So New England will be trading out of pick number 3. And there's only one team that I think can really entice them, and that will be Minnesota climbing up with offering their 2 first-round picks this year. We'll throw in a 1 next year. And honestly, considering how far they're climbing up, there'll probably be more in there. But for the sake of this, just to get the pick across, Minnesota is going to climb up to pick number 3. New England willing to take the step back with new GM, new head coach, and Robert Kraft has spent the entire offseason taking a number 2 on his 6-time former Super Bowl head winning coach in Bill Belichick. So he's going to let them, I think, do everything they can to establish a long-term plan, which will be more than just a quarterback here. So Minnesota, on the other hand, will climb up, and I think they will do this to take Drake May at pick number 3. Kevin O'Connell, quarterback, former quarterback himself, very quarterback-friendly system offense from the Sean McVay system. You got Justin Jefferson. You have to pay Jordan Addison, who is a stud. TJ Hawkinson, the Viking himself, when he comes back. And you have weapons there. I think Drake May, they're going to look at that back. Oh, worst case scenarios, he's going to throw a lot of picks early, but he's going to throw a lot of bombs at Justin Jefferson, at least keep him happy while we develop this and work it out. He's got mobility. He's got a lot of shades of Justin Herbert. There's a lot of very similar concerns coming out. So you know what? Drake May, you're heading to the best situation I think you could possibly hope for in this. And you have Sam Darnold, who might start for a couple games in front of you too, like Tyrod Taylor is supposed to do. So we'll see how long that lasts, obviously. We'll see if that's even a thing. But You know what, Drake May, you're going to, I think, almost the perfect spot for you in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of stole my thunder here for what I was going to do on the 4th pick, and I do think Minnesota. I think we're both set here. Minnesota is going to trade up in the top 5, and I think it's most likely that you'll see New England, or I thought this was going to be the Cardinals right here, switching trading picks with Minnesota. So I think you're exactly head on with that. Going to get Drake May. The moment that guy slips past 1, it's just a free for all to try to get him in, 3 or 4. Really, you just got to imagine. So we'll see. And then who knows? Again, who knows what Washington does? I mean, maybe Washington's the team that trades. So, so that does throw a wrench in my plan here. But that's okay. We are always prepared with plans B through Z. If you guys have ever watched my top 5 picks that have 20 players on them, so I'm always ready for this. And with that said, there's a guy on the board here that just makes sense. He slipped, so I'm going to go get him. MHJ, take yourself down to Phoenix. You're going to be a new Arizona Cardinal. That's Marvin Harrison Jr., for those that don't know. So don't think I really need to explain why. I think it's very, very, obvious why.
Not gonna lie, I was hoping you'd let him slip a little bit because I was gonna have the Colts trading up for here because Jim Mercy would be like, go get Marvin Harrison back in Indy, brother, and trade everything in the kitchen sink. Back. I'm willing to give up 5 first-round picks. I'm getting old and I'm running out of perks. I need you to go get him.
Yeah, it's funny because I did almost think about just taking Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze like I planned on, and I think of it like the Cardinals probably haven't done a lot of homework on Marvin Harrison Jr. And the reason why is they don't expect to see him at 4. If he falls there, they're like, oh, okay. But I don't think they've done a lot of homework. So it wouldn't surprise me, even if he falls, if they still stick with their game plan of going with Neighbors or Dunze. And I don't know. I'm just going to spoil the fun and not let MHJ go very much further down because I don't want to let that guy be the one that slips.
That is perfectly fair. And honestly, if he does slip, I think if he's there at number 5, the Chargers would be like, oh, okay, I have no intentions of taking a receiver here, but that's different because Jim Harbaugh saw him up close and personal for a few years. So it's going to take us at pick number 5. And I think this is another destination of people wanting to trade out, teams wanting to trade back. I think the Chargers are like, we need picks. And Harbaugh's like, I want to rebuild this team upside down. And as we look back, there's a handful of teams I think could trade up. Denver's one that I know wants to trade up to go get a guy, but the Chargers aren't going to oblige that. They're going to be like, no, we're not going to let you get what you want. There's Las Vegas, the exact same song and dance. They're going to be like, no. So I think that's going to be a situation where we're going to say that the Chargers are forced to kind of stick and pick here. So we're going to go ahead and say, I'm going to go ahead and give them Malik Neighbors. I don't think receivers very high on Harbaugh's list. I think he'd much rather take an offensive lineman or a corner here. But I think seeing Malik Neighbors there, he's looking at Justin Herbert, and I completely talked myself out of it. They are actually going to go with Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame.
I was going to say, I couldn't see it, but okay.
Like I could see it, but at the same time, it's Jim Harbaugh, and he's going to be like, we are going to run the ball. We brought in J.K. Dobbins. I know they have Rashawn Slater, former All-Pro left tackle, but Joe Alt, you could plug him in right tackle. And now you have bookend tackles. You got Lane Johnson and Jason Peters in their prime with Justin Herbert. Or if Rashawn Slater goes down, then you slide Joe Alt to left. It makes too much sense. Like you can the outside zone, they're going to run with those. Not much more needs to be said. And it's a deep receiver class. He'll get Roman Wilson in round 2 and Blake Corum in round 3, and we'll get Michigan West Coast. But pick number 6, your New York Giants are now on the board, and they got some options here.
Let's pause on that. Your New York Giants thing right now. Yes, my New York Giants for this next one moment here. Not going to be very long though, because as you mentioned, teams are trying to trade up into this range, and one of those teams is Denver, and I do have Denver trading with the Giants here. Giants sliding back, Denver pretty much shipping the house and home to go and get the 6th pick. They're probably, I don't know what else they're going to have to throw in there, but it's going to be a lot.
We're going to presume 3 1s and something else. Maybe even Patrick Surtain goes in that trade.
Yeah, and the one thing we've all learned with Sean Payton is he thinks he's smarter than everybody else, and he thinks sees something in JJ McCarthy that nobody else sees. So I'm going JJ McCarthy with maybe the first surprise here at number 6 on that trade.
Not gonna lie, if you didn't do that, I was gonna have Tennessee trading back with either Denver or the Raiders too. So either way, Denver or the Raiders were coming to this spot. It just kind of depended what was there. But I agree with you. I think McCarthy, if he does slip this far, I think New England was another one that was really probably looking to come up here as well. But Denver's, they kind of have no other choice in this matter. They have nobody else on the roster. They have to ship farm solo out unless they're planning on Spencer Rattler. But we'll wait and see. But That's going to take us now to Tennessee at pick number 7, who really they're interesting because they're trying to load up like they have a run in them next year while also rebuilding. I think Joe Alt would have been the pick for him because I think offensive line fortification is a key for them. I think seeing Malik Neighbors and Roma Dunze is going to make this very difficult for them. So I'm going to go ahead and say that they take Malik Neighbors. They do have Calvin Ridley, the route runner. DeAndre Hopkins is still there with the hands, the size, just being DeAndre Hopkins. So I think they'll bring in Malik Neighbors to be the absolute burner. The slot fades, the things like that he ran at LSU. So Malik Neighbors will go to Tennessee as they continue to load up on weapons and see if Mayo and the coffee is the right answer moving forward.
I'm okay with that. I do like Malik Neighbors going there. I think if Neighbors falls this far based off of what we have, I think it's an obvious pick for him, especially if Joe Alt's not there. It just makes sense that they go that route. I don't know if there's any other reason for them to go somewhere else. So don't hate it. But that does leave me with a lot of choices for Atlanta. And for once, Atlanta doesn't need a lot on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, if Joe Alt's available here, yeah, okay, fair enough. But offensive line beyond that, I'm not going to say they're going to go get an interior offensive lineman here at 8. So I think they're looking at the defensive side of the ball here. And it really comes between two guys, and they're both edge rushers. Do you want the guy out of Bama or the guy out of Florida State? Take your pick. So it's going to be Jared Verse or Dallas Turner is who I'm really going down to. And I think Atlanta bucks their trend of going with SEC edge rushers for the first time and goes Jared Verse here.
Okay. I really like Jared Verse. Athletic profile-wise, he's comparable to Myles Garrett as far as like the height, weight, speed, and just the ability to inflict havoc on everyone. And I think in a 4-3, he fits a little bit better, which Atlanta has kind of a personnel for. So I like that pick a lot. And it's going to now take us to Chicago at number 9, who, interesting enough, Dallas Turner is the perfect fit there. Roma Dunze is a perfect fit there. There are some perfect fits here. But I'm going to say that they're going to be looking to trade out because they only have 4 picks in this draft. And I think they're going to look at, we got our quarterback, but let's get a little bit more. Let's see if we can get just a little more. And I'm going to go ahead and let's scroll down here. Let's see who are you ready for a little bit? Are you ready for some ridiculousness? Like, are you cool with us going completely out of pocket here?
I'm always ready for out of pocket.
All right. I hope you're ready. We're going to go completely out of pocket. We got Cincinnati climbing up from pick number 18 to pick number 9. We'll say they throw in like a 2 this year and a 2 next year, something like that. They do just enough to avoid giving up two 1s, maybe even a 4th this year, something ridiculous like that. They're going to climb up to pick number 9 with Roma Dunze sitting right there. They're going to take Brock Bowers, the tight end, out of Georgia. I think they're going to jump over the Jets, who there's a lot of rumors to. Is T. Higgins going to stay there? I don't know, and this could set up maybe later in the draft. I have T. Higgins getting shipped out. We'll see, to be determined. But I do think you got to pay Jamar Chase coming up. You just paid Joe Burrow. This gives you another weapon, another way to attack the middle of the field. Tight ends, they've had Hayden Hurst, Irv Smith, some good options. I think Brock Bowers is a completely different beast, so you can also split out in the slot. So Brock Bowers to give them a whole new option and someone you could get the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands even quicker with to avoid some of those hits too, with the way Brock Bowers can get open early. So Cincinnati, they'd also signed Trent Brown, I believe it is. So they think their offensive line situation is set. So they're going to get a little greedy here.
37-year-old Trent Brown.
Hey, he's only like 34, maybe 35. He's
380. He's closer to 40 than I am, and I know that much.
He's 380 something pounds, it seems like. So Cincinnati's going to get a little greedy, and they're going to get Brock Bowers. And well, you know what? We'll see if T. Higgins is still around. I think they'll pass on a Dunze to get Bowers a different type of weapon than they've had so far.
Wow. Okay. Well, that leaves me with a tough choice here at 10 with the Jets. And I think the Jets are going to be so perplexed here. They're not going to know what to do with it. And a team who we just kind of speculated want to go get a potential quarterback maybe and try to avoid that New England curse that's just so happens to be sitting in the next pick. I'm going to have Vegas switching here with the Jets. So the Jets go back. Las Vegas will come up here. I'm not sure what they'll have to give up. Again, this is one I don't know what they're going to have to give up to make this actually happen. But yeah, it's going to be something.
Yeah, we'll see. They somehow avoid 2 1s, but like they'll give up a little extra.
But for the Jets, I mean, Jets fans are like, oh, great, we traded with Vegas, so we're not losing here. But yeah, they're going quarterback. They're going to go the lefty. They're going Michael Penix. Everything just tells me Michael Penix from what I've seen, what I've heard. He seems to fit the mold of what Antonio Pierce wants that offense to look like. So yeah, give me Michael Penix going to Vegas, which I think, look, I'm not against Michael Penix being a top 10 quarterback. I think he's going to be great in the NFL. So absolutely like it.
And that's a smart pick because New England was taking him with pick number 11. So they did what they had to do to go get him. So, and if he was there at 13, that was going to be the case. But New England kind of missing out on the quarterback. situation here. I think they're kind of, I don't want to say stuck here necessarily, but I think they do have the pick. So I think they're going to stick and pick, but they're not going to reach for like Bo Nix here. So I think they're going to look around. They do need receiver help. They need offensive help across the board. Talisi Fuaga is still sitting there, very mauling offensive lineman. Put him at right tackle, put him at guard, wherever you need to put him. I think this is where they will take offensive line. He will take Trent Brown's spot as well. So we're going to take Fuaga to New England. At this point, they're going to build around Bailey Zappi, I guess, at this point, too. And then back, you know what? We'll figure out quarterback later. They have a bunch of picks from Minnesota that I didn't include the future ones they're getting on top of it.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think if they can't get a quarterback there, in the first 12 picks, I'd say they're going to go offensive lineman because they're going to pick somewhere in the first 12 picks. So you just don't know where they're going to fall. So I agree. I think they're going to go offensive line if they have that chance. So, but that's going to take us to the trade back here with the Giants now. And well, they didn't get their receiver earlier, but guess what? Just what happens to be sitting there. Rome Odunze sliding to 12 just so happens for the New York Giants. So congratulations, Rome. You're going to the Big Apple. Rome in New York, I guess.
Honestly, they could have taken him at pick number 6, and that would have been a great pick. If you could pull him off at 12, that's even better. So that is quite the pickup for the New York Football Giants, that's for sure. That's going to now take us to pick number 13, the New York Jets. And all the fun offensive weapons you see them kind of getting greedy with, I think just kind of went off the board. So I think this is going to force them to be smart and take an offensive lineman here. And Olu Fashanu is still there. So we're going to have the Penn State Maulers going to head to the other part of the Big Apple in New Jersey, MetLife Stadium, to join the Jets. I think everything in their power is going to be like, oh, we should take Brock Bowers or Rome Odunze, more weapons for Aaron, and think their 37-year-old and 36-year-old offensive tackles they brought in with Moses and the other one, Tyron Smith, excuse me. I think they're going to be trying to get greedy, thinking those guys will hold it down. But with the way the thing played out, I think they'll take offensive line here with Fashanu because one of those two is bound to get hurt, especially on that MetLife field.
Well, we know Tyron Smith's shoulder issues, so know them well. So that's going to take us 14 to New Orleans, who has a lot of different holes. Offensive line, you have quarterback, you could probably use another receiver, you could probably use a DB, you could probably use a defensive end. And I think this is a situation where they're just probably going to go best available. I think because they have so much, they're just like trying to fill something, right? They're going to just go with whatever's the best option. And the fact this guy is probably sitting here at 14 means we might have messed something up in the first 13 picks here. But I'm going to go Dallas Turner right here to New Orleans. He's not going to go far from home and stay in the South here and go to the Big Easy.
I would say that part's a very unlikely thing. We had I don't know if we'll have that quite play out, but you know what? This is just how it goes when we go back and forth. Sometimes things get a little bit goofy, and you know what? It's all fun and games here. But let's get Taze to pick number 15 with the Indianapolis Colts. Their biggest need is by far defensive back, and you have every single defensive back on the board. So I think that at this point, do you prefer Terrion Arnold or Quinyon Mitchell? And I'm going to give them Quinyon Mitchell. A little bit more of the raw athletic score that Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, gets an absolute boner for. So I think they'll take Quinyon Mitchell, who also, in my opinion, is cornerback number 1. Although between those two, you can't go wrong. So they addressed the corner need with Quinyon Mitchell, and it wasn't necessarily like they had to reach at this point. So it looks like them ignoring free agency altogether for now. Say they're okay. They're okay despite it.
And that's if they don't trade up to go get Brock Bowers in real life. That's if they get beat out for that opportunity. I definitely could see that happening. Get all the help you can get in that secondary. Mm-hmm. Speaking of secondaries, somebody that doesn't really need one. But man, I'm sure they would love somebody that's sitting right there and those top 3 players available. But I don't think they're going to take them. I think they're looking offense. I think they're specifically looking offensive line. And to be honest, they have tackles covered. So they're going to probably go interior here. And despite the fact that J.C. Latham is still sitting out there, they're going to ignore him. They're going to go with Fatanu out of Washington, the interior defensive lineman. There you go. Offensive lineman. Sorry, interior offensive lineman. Technically offensive tackle, but he's probably going to play interior when he gets to the next level. So, yeah.
He's not going to have to travel very far, luckily. He knows the area very well.
Knows that stadium very well, too.
Exactly. And that's a great pickup. He can swing the tackle if they get injured, if the young guys get injured again, but he has a lot of Elijah Vera Tucker feel to him. I think it's a great fit. So now we're going to head to the opposite far east side of basically the complete opposite side of the country to Jacksonville at pick number 17. They kind of got hosed with the Calvin Ridley thing. They really thought they're going to be able to re-sign him, and they failed on that. So now you have Christian Kirk, and I don't think they have another receiver on the roster because I believe Zay Jones left too. So they are very limited at that point. So I think they're going to take receiver at this point, and they're going to get a really good one in Brian Thomas Jr., who really has no business being their pick number 17. But I think they're going to get away with. I think they're going to get away with one there.
He fell down there and into a perfect spot, if you will, for him. Yeah, I don't think there's a better option there. Yeah, the Jaguars might have just lucked out with that one. So yeah, Brian Thomas to the Jags. Okay. So that's going to take us to the Bears. I was actually hoping Brian Thomas slipped one more spot to the Bears. Just going to be honest with you, I don't think they really need him right now. But you know what? He would be great to sit behind their star-studded receiving core. But you know what they do need? Defense. You know what's available? Defense. So this is tough for me because they did get one defensive lineman last year, I guess you can call him, in Sweat, who's obviously an impact player. You also have one really quality corner you just re-signed. This is where I'm torn because I wouldn't mind Latu or Terry Arnold going in this two slots. And then Byron Murphy is a sleeper pick for me for this right here. So I'm going to go Latu just because I think he's the in-between. He could play the combo 3-point stance, 2-point stance type of edge rusher. So give me Latu here going to the Bears.
I like that pick a lot. He gets to play opposite Montez Sweat, who we saw last year led 2 teams in sacks. After he got traded, he still led the Washington Commanders in sacks even after he left. So I think that's a great fit for the Bears, and they need to in that division now too with the sudden upstart Detroit Lions. You got Minnesota with Drake May and all those weapons, and then you got Green Bay with Jordan Love. You got to go hit those guys. So that's a great pick for Chicago. Speaking of hit the quarterbacks, the Rams at number 19 have one of the best guys at hitting the quarterback of all time just retire on them in Aaron Donald. So it only makes all the sense in the world that Byron Murphy, who a smaller defensive tackle, and finger quotes for those who are listening audibly, that kind of the same things that Aaron Donald heard. Not saying he's even going to be close to that, but a similar type profile of interior defensive lineman who can move up and down the line. Byron Murphy is going to head to Los Angeles to fill some awfully big shoes.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I don't think there's a single doubt in my mind that could be a possibility. Which takes us to Pittsburgh with, wow, there's a lot of players still on the board that Pittsburgh would be rushing to the table to go get. We saw their issues with the secondary last year. In full capacity. They literally were just pulling guys off the street, it felt like, to start in the secondary for their team. But their previous quarterback couldn't stay upright enough to throw the ball, and now you spend all this money bringing in a brand new quarterback in Russell Wilson. You need to keep him upright, and there just so happens to be a top tackle in that area. Again, like the previous pick I had at 18 and 20, I don't think it gets much easier for the Steelers because I think they look at Terry Arnold as an absolute gem right here. I think he's an absolute steal if he goes at 20, but I think J.C. Latham is also a steal if he goes here at 20. You spend all the money on Russ. I think it's just obvious here. You need to go offense. But the one thing I've learned about Mike Tomlin is he does love him some defensive back. So give me Terry Arnold here going to the Steelers. And he's going to make him an absolute superstar in the league if he gets the opportunity.
I say him, if they could stay healthy, him and Joey Porter Jr. could be a nice duo if they could both stay healthy. And then Minkah Fitzpatrick back there. And if we know anything about the Steelers, they never quite do what you expect when it comes to it. Sometimes it works out, though. So, well, you know what? Terry Arnold, that's a very good value for there, too, because he should be gone well before this. He might even be a top 10. But here we are. And it's going to take us now to pick number 21, Miami, who I was going to take either Terry Arnold or J.C. Latham because those are both needs that they have. And since he's still there, they will take J.C. Latham. They got to figure out is Tua their guy, and they need to be able to keep him upright. I think corner is a big need, but I think offensive line is also a big need. It was one or the other there. So they're going to take J.C. Latham.
Yeah, I think that's an obvious pick there. Philly. I think Philly, you look at this one and you're wondering what they're going to do to repair their offensive line. You lose Jason Kelcey. You now have a gap in that offensive line to fill because you know Landon Dickerson's going to slide down. Like you just know that's going to be the case. He's going to slide in the center. So you have that other position to fill. Why not get a guy very similar to Landon Dickerson that just happens to be out there? A guy who I might have honestly thought would be off the board right here. But if Philly gets an opportunity, I'm going to say they're going to go get Jackson Powers Johnson.
Interesting. All right. All right. You know what it is? Howie Roseman's offense and defensive line, even when they have a very shaky secondary, is what we're going to say politely, it's the trenches and the trenches only. And, JPJ fixes a lot of issues for a lot of teams on the interior. Saquon Barkley is going to enjoy that. We will say that for sure.
Yeah,
Weird.
Jalen's going to love that.
100%. You know what? The tushy pushy is not quite dead yet. Well, maybe. We'll see. Hopefully it is, but
it's definitely not going to be the brotherly push anymore.
Not anymore. It's going to be like, there's some words we can't use on this show because this is a family-friendly show for that one. So that's going to take us now to the next pick, at pick number 23, New England, who unfortunately traded back, and they I think they had to bite the bullet a little bit earlier. I think Penix at 11 was the goal, but the Raiders threw a dent in that. So I think here at pick number 23, they are going to pull the trigger on a quarterback, and they will take the 6th quarterback, I believe, in the first round, and that will be Bo Nix at Oregon. Pure distributor, runs the offense very cleanly. Could make a case that he might be one of these safer picks in the draft too, as far as the quarterbacks go. He might not have as high of a ceiling as the other guys, but I feel like worst case scenario is he can run your offense. And I think New England's going to look at that like, okay, we're going to rebuild similar to what we had when Gerard Mayo was playing in those guys, like quarterback that can run the system. I think that's something he could do.
Yeah, I think that's a safe and obvious pick there for New England. I mean, I really feel like with the way we had to shake out, they almost got bitten both times before, you get bitten and you can't take Michael Penix there early. You thought you'd be safe at 11. Now here at 23, unfortunately you can't get the offensive lineman or the ideal quarterback you wanted. So now you're settling for Bo Nix, which I don't think is going to hurt him. I think that's a good thing for him. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that works out for New England if that's the way this goes. But that'll take us to Dallas. Man, this is a pick I didn't want to do because I feel like there's a lot here that they could do. Can you do me a favor and go and click on the offensive lineman category, the tackle specifically? So yeah, we do have Amarius Mims still there, and then I don't think that's where they're going to go, but I do like Amarius Mims. I do think Amarius Mims should be a first-round draft pick. I know interior offensive line, there's a few guys in there as well, but I think they're going to reach for somebody that some people might consider him a reach at the tackle position. I'm going to say Tyler Guyton goes to Dallas, a guy who anybody who's watched football in the Texas-Oklahoma region and in Big 12 football, this guy, his talent. If you're a nerd like I think DJ and I are here, when it comes to football, his position, his offensive tackle abilities. He's raw, but he has a lot of ability. And I think Tyler Guyton is a guy that would fit in with what Dallas wants to do. And, if they're going to try to rebuild and make a run, this is something that you're going to need to do is get a big quality tackle. But I don't think Jerry Jones is smart enough to go Amarius Mims. I think he's going to try to be smarter than everybody else and try to go Tyler Guyton.
Interesting. I do like Tyler Guyton. I think he's a first-round pick, but I do think Amarius Mims, the absolute mammoth of a man that he is, would make a lot more sense there. But you know what? Dallas is going to Dallas, and you never know with them. But so
they're a team. I honestly, I agree with you. I think it should be Amarius Mims, but I'm so used to Dallas messing up my brain that I'm going off the wall here with this one.
Absolutely. But might as well go off the wall. That's what we've already gone a little bit off the rails so far, and we're going to keep it going. But we won't go off the rails with this pick at 25. This is one I've been pretty, for the most part, steadfast with all the mock draft Mondays. It's just kind of played out this way. But I think the ideal fit for them here is Cooper DeJean going to the Packers. He could play safety. He could play corner. He could play nickel. They need help in the secondary. I think he's very versatile. You could play him across the board. Put him opposite Yair. Put him at safety. Put him in the nickel, watch him tackle people. He could do a little bit of everything. So Cooper DeJean to the Green Bay just makes a lot of sense.
Yes. All of the above, yes. And with all the way that shook out, that makes this 26 pick a lot easier for the Bucs. As I mentioned, I believe Amarius Mims should have been the pick for Dallas. I think Tampa Bay thinks that should be the pick for Dallas, given the way everything would shake out. Well, it wasn't. So guess what Tampa Bay's about to go do? They're going to go rush to the table and go get Amarius Mims here at 26 for offensive tackle.
Interesting. All right. Tampa Bay's bolstering up that offensive line. Hopefully they'll learn how to run the ball now that they're getting a little bit of, now that they got a refrigerator playing right tackle opposite Tristan Wirfs now with Amarius Mims.
I feel like at this point in time, it's just a matter of like, all right, Baker, just stay healthy and don't try to run the ball and you'll have two really good tackles to protect you.
Exactly. Mike Evans is out there somewhere. Just keep looking. But it's going to take us now to Arizona again at pick number 27, courtesy of last year's trade with the Texans. And they also have a couple of second-round picks. So Arizona is looking to make out like a bandit in this one. They got the weapon for Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., so I think defense is the way to go here. We know Jonathan Gannon loves himself some defensive backs, but he also loves himself a pass rush. So there's Johnny Newton or Nate Wiggins. I'm going to go ahead and go with Nate Wiggins on this one because Jonathan Gannon, he loves DBs. They need defensive back and pass rush help. So, and they got some early second round picks. I think you're more likely to get maybe not Johnny Newton or Chop Robinson, but maybe you'll find some other defensive rushers in that early second round range. So we'll go Nate Wiggins as the picks at 27 to Arizona.
Yeah, no, that just makes complete sense. I know for this pick right here with Buffalo, they were hoping they wouldn't do that. I think because if Nate Wiggins is sitting there, they're 100% going there. But you already clicked on the tab. Can you go ahead and go right back to the wide receiver? With their offseason moves, you look at that team, you're wondering what they're going to do at receiver. And there's a lot of receivers that they're already looking at and eyeing. You have one of the strongest arms in the NFL. I don't think there's any question about that. You need a quality receiver to throw the ball up to. I don't think there's any question. Adonai Mitchell is going to be going to Buffalo. You hope he can stay healthy. You hope he can work out there. But yeah, I'm gonna go AD Mitchell ending up in Buffalo.
He has 5 touchdowns in the college football playoffs. So, like, he's a big game performer, too. And with those tight ends, I think you leave him one-on-one, he's going to make a lot of plays. I like A.D. Mitchell with Josh Allen a lot. And getting him without having to trade up is even better. Like, that's a great spot for him. But speaking of trading up, it's been a long time since we've had a trade, and I think we're about due for one. Detroit, I think, they're a really good, well-oiled machine team. So I think they'd be willing to accumulate some picks here. So I think they're going to be willing to trade back. So Detroit's going to be willing to take a few steps back. We're going to spice things up a little bit for a team that the GM's not on the hot seat, but the seat is getting lukewarm a little bit, and they have a young quarterback they need to provide weapons to. So we're going to see Indianapolis find a way to climb back up into the first round. We'll do something like a 2 this year and a 2 next year, something along those lines. Either way, though, and of course, this stupid trade thing glitches, but just pretend it's Indianapolis taking the pick because the thing won't go through. For some weird reason, I can't ever quite figure it out, but the trade simulator likes to glitch when it comes to trading out of the second back in the first. So either way, presume Indianapolis taking this pick at 29. I think they're going to go to receiver, and they had a full contingency out at the Texas Pro Day, and they love themselves some athletes. So I think they're going to go up there and they're going to go grab Xavier Worthy, Mr. 4'2", 140 himself, to pair with Anthony Richardson's arm strength to absolutely take the top off. So Xavier Worthy heading to Indianapolis, despite the fact it says Detroit there, but Indianapolis goes and gets the absolute speedster out of Texas. And I think they're just kind of envisioning Anthony Richardson dropping back and throwing it 79 yards in the air to Worthy off a 4-step drop. Not like just like a 3.5-step drop, not even a full 7-step like everyone else does.
Yeah, that just makes sense. Really, that's Indy needs a fast receiver. Really, at the end of the day, you need somebody that's not just 6'4" or taller, 6'3" or taller, but you need somebody who runs a sub 4.6. No offense, Alec Pierce. I'm not judging you, but like you need that extra dimension to your offense. And Xavier Worthy might be one of the more underrated potential first round picks in my eyes, at least a receiver, not named Lad McConkey, obviously. But yeah, so I definitely like that pick going.
Exactly. Sorry, and you keep him out there. That's going to keep safeties to stay back, which means Anthony Richardson gets ahead of steam in the run game too. Which, great, more problems. It's Cam Newton with Ted Ginn Jr. just cranked up to 11.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that with Indy, obviously trying to get their quarterback back into the run game. Well, there's a team right here in Baltimore that has quite the efficient running quarterback, or if you believe what he said a few years ago, not too bad for a running back. Still refuse to accept him as a running back. Anyways, this team could use offensive line. I still think they could use the secondary, though. I do think they need health in the secondary. They need youth in their corners specifically. And I don't know if I like a better corner on this draft, on this board, except for Nate Wiggins, maybe, other than Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is the guy that if he's sitting here, I know Johnny Newton's right there, but if Kool-Aid McKinstry is sitting here, I don't think Baltimore questions it. They're going to do the stereotypical Baltimore thing, best available player, especially defensively, and go get Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Can't go around there. Him, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, that's a secondary not to be messed with as well. So I like that pick a lot for him. They do have secondary holes, offensive line holes, like best available players right there. So take us now to pick number 31, the San Francisco 49ers. I think they'd be willing to trade back here, but I don't think there's anyone here that anyone's willing to trade up for at this point since all the quarterbacks are gone. There's not anything ridiculous here. They need offensive line help, if we're being honest. Trent Williams is awesome, but the rest of that offensive line, I mean, they got Brock Purdy's UCL ripped in half a couple years ago. They can get got. I mean, they let Chris Jones basically ruin the Super Bowl for him, especially in those key moments. So I'm going to say they're going to go the best offensive lineman available, and that happens to be Graham Barton out of Duke. Plays tackle, but I think he's going to be a really, really good guard center swing player. So I think they will start bolstering the offensive line starting at pick number 31. Assuming we don't have like a T. Higgins trade in here or a Brandon Ayuk trade or anything like that. So what for now, from what things are looking like today, we're going to say they'll go take Graham Barton.
Well, I'm going to spoil the whole there's not many teams looking to trade to back up in the first round thing right here. With 32, first of all, let me say Graham Barton, if he goes to San Francisco, yes. I have Kansas City trading with none other than the Cleveland Browns to get back into this first round here. Don't know what the Browns are going to have to give up for this to work out, but they have offense. And the biggest issue is they've never found another person to bookend Myles Garrett consistently. And there just happens to be a guy that if he doesn't go in the first round, will go in the first 3 picks of the second round sitting on this board. And that to me is Chop Robinson out of Penn State. So I'm going to have Chop Robinson again, like we did with Indianapolis, pretend this is Cleveland that this is going to happen with. But I have Chop Robinson ending up going in 32nd overall to Cleveland off a trade with the Chiefs.
Absolutely. That's him and Myles Garrett off the edges is going to be absolutely terrifying. That offense is loaded. Honestly, that defense is loaded. That team in general is loaded. Now you have a 4.4 speed guy flying off the edge. Oh, and then you got Myles Garrett on the other side, reigning defensive player of the year. So good luck, everybody else. And he's going to chase down Lamar in the open field. He's somebody that you can have chasing him around the edges. Somebody who can chase Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Like that's a weapon.
Yeah. So exactly. I mean, it's one of those weird situations where at 32, if you're a team at the back end or the middle to back end of the second round, you're looking at these last picks in the first round as kind of an easy swap because most teams picking at this point in time, I'd say 28 through 32 specifically, they're not going to ask for an arm and a leg for that pick. You can 9 times out of 10 you can get away with a swap of your seconds, and then you throw in a second for next year or a third from next year, and you can usually get that pick from somebody. So you're not losing a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, and you can get a player that's first round quality and is still really you're not going to pay an arm and a leg like Cleveland has done in the past for players that don't work out.
That is kind of the MO for sure, but we definitely also left some very good players on the board as there are to be imagined with Ladd McConkey, Darius Robinson, Ennis Rackstraw, Johnny Newton. Like that's going to be a very good top of the second round. Carolina, I'll be curious too. Do they go Ladd McConkey or where do they go with that? So that'll be an interesting one to kick off day 2. But let us know down below how far off the rails do you think this mock draft went, or how on the point do you think it will be? So definitely be sure to watch the draft special starting in less than 24 hours now. And if you're not quite sure what we're talking about, well, go ahead and take a look for yourself.
Join us live Thursday, 4:25 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Belly Up Sports Draft Special. We'll be getting live reactions and analysis from personalities all across the Belly Up Sports Network. You'll see special guests Zach Kyleman and Josh Mahler. Jared from the Corner Booth Pod will be giving you live analysis, while DJ and Kelcey drive you through the entirety of the first round of the NFL Draft. Be sure to join us live Thursday, 4:25 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time right here on Belly Up Sports.
Hopefully you get used to hearing that voice because you'll be hearing it a lot tomorrow as well. But it's going to be a fun time. I can't wait. We got a lot of different sports personalities, analysts, experts, reckless, abandon. I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. Any different way to watch the NFL draft.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. I know I'm pumped for it. I'll be coming in right off the road basically to do this. I'm so excited about it though. I don't care. Sleep is for the dead. I will be there to sleep after the draft. Because I've been waiting for this moment since like January 1. I think we've started talking about the draft seriously on January 1. So obviously I'm super excited for tomorrow and what it all brings. So be sure to put your seat up, grab some popcorn. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We definitely can't wait for it as well too. It's going to be a fun time. Once again, we appreciate y'all for joining us this week on the High Low Sports Podcast. A shorter episode as we just kind of made Mock Draft Monday this week's episode because every year we do ourselves a mock draft. We're able to fly right through it. A little bit less suspense compared to some of the last couple of years that we've done this because, well, the first 2 picks are really like for 2 of the first 6 picks. We are like, well, that was easy. That was done. But This was great. We appreciate y'all for hanging out with us. Be sure to tune in for that draft special. Jump in the comment section. Feel free to come in. Let us know what you think of your team's picks, what trade you like. Just a new way to watch the NFL draft. You can honestly have it on your TV screen, then just listen to us in the background too. It's a fun. It gives you a chance to be interactive while talking a little bit about sports and listening through And it won't be just our tiresome, boring voices. We will have plenty of others joining in throughout the draft as well, too. But we appreciate y'all for joining us this week.
Well, hold on. One more thing before we let them out. One more thing. One last thing. One little surprise for everybody. We did get a chance to reach out to our good friends over at Righteous Felon for the draft special. By the way, if you guys haven't checked out Righteous Felon beef jerky, we'll put the links in our bio for tomorrow. The important thing is, though, we're going to have a little bit of a guessing game for everybody. We're going to set an over-under for the number of quarterbacks going in the draft. If you haven't seen it on social media, be sure to check that out. Get your guess in before the start of the draft because we'll be keeping tally. If it's over, we pick all the people who chose over. We put them into a pool. We pull the number out of a hat, and that's how you get your winnings. So we will be giving away some free Righteous Felon jerky, probably a gift card to Righteous Felon. So it's good for like however many packs that equals out to. All the details will be over on Belly Up Sports' social media. So be sure to check that out as well. Because who doesn't want free beef jerky? Or if you have a dog, free dog treats from Righteous Felon.
And can confirm the dogs do like it as well. And you don't have to be a felon to get it, and you don't have to be righteous. You can just enjoy it regardless. So definitely want to click on those links. It's a little surprise indeed. But once again, we appreciate y'all for joining us here. Should be a wonderful time, and we will see you all again next week.